Yo, what's up, y'all? It's Gabriel Parrish with the Queen City Treasures. Once again, we're here with day 2 highlights, man. Day 1 was a success, and day 2 was nothing less, man. We're back again, hosted by Dr. Adrianne M. Toney. We're here, man. Let's see what was going on.
Awesome privilege and honor to introduce to you this evening Ms. Teresa Harris. She is the author of the article written in the Washita County Historical Society's Quarterly on Dr. C.B. Bledsoe, Camden's foot doctor, and I was told today he was also known as the corn doctor. Yeah.
We have some guests that were the main point of this symposium here. We have C.B. Bledsoe, Dr. C.B. Bledsoe, and Dr. James Hildreth, man.
Life, and who live on in the memories and stories of those who knew them. Such was the case of Dr. Cornelius Butson Bledsoe. There are still a few of us living who remember seeing him, and some who had the good fortune to receive treatment from him. Dr. Bledsoe was and I had to look this up on Google. Who knows if they know what they're talking about. Curepodist. That's an odd word, obviously used in the last century to explain the title of a foot doctor. Or podiatrist is what we might know him as. Dr. Bledsoe appeared at Camden in the 1940s and continued his practice here and elsewhere until his death from a heart attack in 1967. From that time he began practicing. He was on the move and from town to town, according to his newspaper advertisements. He often advertised his services in Little Rock, Hope, Monticello, and El Dorado newspapers. Dr. Bledsoe didn't practice from an office, but treated his patients on the city streets. With that said, it's safe to say not every woman in town was ready to receive treatment in such a manner. Some newspaper ads mentioned he could secure a private room for ladies who desired such accommodations. He made house calls and occasionally performed procedures in his own home in the years prior to his death. Perhaps the most interesting thing about the doctor was his appearance. No suits or lab coats for this man. Instead, he dressed in black from head to toe. And atop it all, he wore a full-length black cloak, and around his neck he wore several strands of beads and at least one big rabbit foot necklace.
Now, something that kind of stuck out to me, he was called the corn doctor. Not corn, but corn. Yeah. He has dreads, he has some beads on, and he's a foot doctor, and he'll put fire on your feet. Now, let me tell you, you ain't never danced with some fire on your feet before. That's some crazy stuff.
Dr. Bledsoe owned a black and white Indian motorcycle with a sidecar that he used when he traveled out of town. I've not read anywhere that he owned a car. I think the motorcycle was the preferred and the coolest way to travel. And I'm going to read you some professional ads. These are the ads I was talking about that appeared in the paper that he requested. And this is from the 1923 Arkansas Democrat. Notice, Dr. C.B. Bledsoe, corns, bunions, and calluses, and ingrown toenails and sweaty feet. Dr. Bledsoe poured a large amount of hot oil on his toe, and this oil was set on fire. The oil seeped down into and around his infected toe. David still remembers that ointment and how effective it was. Late that same night, David got relief, and he called the coach the next morning, saying his toe was well. Coach Coleman was a little reluctant, but did let David play the game. Dr. Bledsoe's successful treatment stood out in David's memory.
Dr. Bledsoe helped each patient with grace and care, and he was right here in Arkansas. That's just inspiring for somebody like me, for the youth, man. Dr. James Hildreth. Let's give it to Dr. Adrianne Toney.
So I have the distinct honor to talk about Dr. Hildreth and reached out to his office. Of course, he is very, very busy at Meharry, taking on the world and producing doctors. And I was just super excited by several things, but I'm going to start with a quote from Dr. Hildreth, and it says, "What I decided to do about it was to become a physician myself. What I decided to do about it was to become a physician myself. Try to make sure that no other 11-year-old went through what I went through. The problem is that I had never seen a black doctor. Didn't know you could become a doctor if you were black. He was born here in Camden, Arkansas in 1956. And of course he went to what school at the time? Camden, not Camden, Fairview, it was just Camden, right? And then he, in 1979, went to Harvard University. He went to Oxford University, and he earned a PhD in immunology. That's our immune system, right? And so whatever he learned in Camden had to be pretty good. Had to be quality. That's the part that, for me, unearthing that as a young person, he received an education that was worthy of him going to Harvard, to Oxford, and Johns Hopkins.
He discovered a protein that was the basis for Raptivia. Now, this Raptivia is used to treat skin sickness like psoriasis. Now, this is crazy, man. Quote from Dr. Toney: he turned a tragedy into a triumph, man. Here goes Dr. Toney again.
Thank you all so much for coming tonight. This is so important for us to unearth this, to say it out loud, right? Go run tell somebody. That's what my compadre. Go tell somebody. Go text somebody tonight and tell them, man, you all should have been there just to hear what treasures have been unearthed.